Hi, I'm Donald Wade, and thanks for joining me for today's daily devotion. Today is September 28th, 2020, and today's devotion is entitled, When You're Just Done. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 says, Trust the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. In all ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. There's a story in the Gospel of Mark, in chapter 9, where Jesus heals a boy possessed by an unclean spirit. The Gospel reads, When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, and some scribes arguing with them. When the whole crowd saw Jesus, they were immediately overcome with awe, and they ran forward to greet him. He asked them, What are you arguing about with them? Someone from the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought you my son. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak, and whenever it seizes him, it dashes him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples to cast it out, but they could not do so. He answered them, You faithless generation, how much longer must I be among you? How much longer must I put up with you? Bring him to me. And they brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the father, How long has this been happening to him? And he said, From childhood. It has often cast him into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you are able to do anything, have pity on us and help us. Jesus said to him, If you are able, all things can be done for one who believes. Immediately, the father of the child cried out, I believe, help my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, You spirit that keeps this boy from speaking and hearing, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. After crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he was able to stand. When he had entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could we not cast it out? He said to them, This kind can come out only through prayer. The Gospel of the Lord. Is there any belief you've simply gotten tired of believing? Is there any belief you've held on to stubbornly for too long now? We are so good at holding on to things, even after they've shown themselves to be detrimental. Sometimes these stubborn beliefs are about God. Sometimes they're about other people. Sometimes they're about us. And sometimes it's just time to change our minds. We can, you know. It's not an easy thing to do, of course, changing our minds, changing our beliefs, but we don't have to do it on our own. God will help if we ask. All we must do is decide that we want to change our minds. Like the man who brought his son, the one who couldn't speak, to Jesus. This man had real doubts about Jesus and about what Jesus could do. But he decided he wanted to change his mind about those doubts. And he asked for help. Verse 24 says, immediately the father of the child cried out and said, I believe, help my unbelief. Changing our minds to align our beliefs with those of God is one way we step out of our old selves and into our new selves. It's one way we begin to become the people God intends us to become. Okay, so what do we do? Are you tired of being a skeptic? Are you tired of being bitter or unforgiving? Are you tired of being too hard on yourself? Or is there something else? The Apostle Paul told us what to do when we identify an old, worn-out belief. In Ephesians chapter 4, Paul says, you were taught to put away your former way of life, your old self, corrupt and deluded by its lusts, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to clothe yourselves with the new self, created according to the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. In other words, Paul is telling us to get rid of it. Get rid of it by naming it and bringing it to God in prayer. Tell him you're tired of being that person, hard-hearted and unbending. Tell him you'd like his help in becoming a new person, a new creation, a new version of yourself. Get rid of it by telling it to God. Get rid of it by asking God for help. Get rid of it by telling God that you are done. Done with your old ways. Done with your old prejudices. Done with doing, thinking, and being less than you were created to be. Eliminate those old demons, the ones that have been tormenting you, weighing you down, pushing you into the fire, by remembering Jesus' words. This kind can come out only through prayer. In Jesus' holy name, amen.